What's going on, everybody? I'm Jerry, and today we have my Week 15 biggest takeaways. We're going to go over the biggest winners, the biggest losers, and what we learned the most from these games. Not going to go over every single game. There were some blowouts and ones that didn't really learn anything from, so we're not going to be going over those, but we are going to be going over a lot of them. So starting off, we'll have the Chargers and the Raiders. Brandon Staley gets fired. Tom Telesco gets fired. It was a mess. The Chargers clearly need Justin Herbert. Just a lot of problems offensively. Easton Stick couldn't stop turning the ball over to the point where he's throwing a pick six, one-handed pick six, to Jack Jones and just laughing after. It seemed like he thought it was a joke. It was 42-0 at half. The Raiders went off. I think this needs to be noted because, sure, it's still a blowout win, but it's for a team that had been looking a little bit better playing against a team that was struggling in the Chargers. And I'm very interested to see what happens moving forward this year. The Chargers seem like the favorite for Jim Harbaugh, and it was a mess. So the 5 turnovers for the Chargers. The Raiders just murdered them, and the defense went crazy. The Raiders offensively didn't even have an amazing performance. Didn't need to because of how well the defense played. Raiders win 63-21. I was wrong about the spread. I thought they would cover, but I did have the Raiders straight up. Vikings-Bengals. This game was wild. I was surprised at how much Nick Mullins was dotting up the Bengals defense because the Bengals defense has not been this bad team. I think they've definitely been better in years past where you just kind of assume the Bengals are going to be this team where the offense has to score a lot of points, the defense doesn't play well, and the offensive line doesn't play well. They haven't been that as much this year. The defensive line, in particular, has definitely played better. So, strong start for Mullins despite that. Ty Chandler was running the ball all over the field, and I think the Vikings kind of had a similar problem to the Bears game where in the final drive, in overtime, and the defense just kind of let up, and Brian Flores was not calling the aggressive defense that he had been calling. He got kind of too safe, and the Bengals end up winning the game because of it. I did, again, put the defense was underwhelming, kind of for the same reason that Nick Mullins had a strong start. The Vikings were up 17-3 at the beginning, and I feel like the Bengals defense is better than that going up against a guy like Nick Mullins. Sure, there's Justin Jefferson was back, and Jordan Addison still had a phenomenal game, but I thought the defense was underwhelming. Jake Browning is him. He completed passes to 11 different players in this game, which is wild. There's 11 players on the offense, and he managed to complete a pass to 11 different players. Nobody was the clear number one. Jamar Chase obviously went down, probably has a bigger day if he doesn't, but T. Higgins steps up, and I think he will get paid after this. I don't know if it will be by the Bengals. You would hope, especially with the performance when Jamar Chase goes down and seeing how he plays and how well he played when he goes down. But great game for the Bengals, getting that win 27-24 in overtime. Next, Steelers. Steelers got messed up. Mitch Trubisky, they've already decided that he's not the guy, and it is Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer time. Mason Rudolph, very fitting around Christmas time for Mason Rudolph to come in. So we'll see what happens with that. Crazy how Matt Canada, I almost said Matt Patricia. Matt Canada gets fired, and then they have a first 400-yard week, and then they can't do anything after that. The offense just goes right back to being nothing. But the defense fell apart. Typically, Steelers play low-scoring games where the offense does enough to win. Even though they get outgained, the defense usually forces some turnovers, and Gardner Minshew just raised above all that. We had some backup running backs for the Colts. Trey Sermon, Ohio State legend. Trey Sermon ends up having a great game for the Colts and stuff like that. But they really only played in the first quarter, the Steelers. They went up 13-0, and I think it was like 14 minutes left in the second quarter, and the Steelers were up 13-0, and then the Colts score late in the second and never let off from there. They did struggle early, and the run game between, I think, Goodson or whatever that other running backs, hadn't even heard of them before. But these running backs were just playing great. Zach Moss, I think, only got 4 carries and didn't really take them anywhere. So great game for the Colts. Minshew still is advertised. He's going to be I think he could be a great backup. I mean, he's probably the best backup quarterback in the league right now. Could argue maybe Jake Browning. I feel like we've seen more of Minshew. But I think Minshew deserves a start. I think on a team that needs a quarterback like the Steelers, I think he would actually be able to do a great job on the Steelers. And or like I don't know if he necessarily fits the Falcons scheme, but any of these quarterback needy teams, I feel like Minshew should be a starting quarterback in the league, and could be that game manager, that Brock Purdy. But he's going to make some electric plays. Gardner Minshew, don't sleep on Gardner Minshew. Great game for him. Colts win 30-13. Next we have the Broncos Lions. I was extremely wrong about this one. I thought the Broncos were going to win. I was confused as to why they were +4 against the spread, but the Broncos just could not run the ball. I am very upset with Javonte Williams, especially in my fantasy team, basically costing me my fantasy league. He got like 4 points, and I drafted him because of how hard of a runner he was last year. When I watched, or when we saw him play, obviously he was injured, but when he played, it seemed like he ran the ball harder than anybody. And then this year, that just has not been the case. The defense couldn't hang. Broncos defense had been one of their stronger points in these recent games. Early on in the season, they were kind of getting cooked and had some issues. And last year their defense was one of the best in the league, and they had the issues early. But then their defense seemed like they put it together, and then they allow the Lions to score 42. So are the Broncos done? It's a no for me. I think its playoffs are going to be really tough at this point, especially I think they're at 7-7, so it's going to be very tough to make it in. But I think there's still a future. I don't think Russell Wilson is done. He's had a great year. I don't think Sean Payton is the problem personally. Obviously, you see him and Russell Wilson having their differences on the sideline, but I don't think the Broncos are done yet. I think they might be done for this year, but I don't think they're done. Like I don't think they're going to blow it up and replace everybody next year. I think they're on the right path for a brand new head coach. Well, not brand new but new to the team head coach. The Lions, on the other hand, they dominated on the ground. Jahmyr Gibbs is unbelievable. The way that, with how shifty he is and all the moves that he can make. Not quite Barry-like, but I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs is something else. David Montgomery's still a great running back. I mean, that duo might be one of the best, when healthy, best in the league. Defense still not getting pressure. Missing James Houston. Aiden Hutchinson's really the only person that can do much of any of it, and it seems like he gets double a lot. And he can break through double teams, but not every time. And I think the Lions, although winning games and looking like they're very clearly going to win the North, the NFC North, I think they're going to need a nice hot streak to make it through the playoffs, which they've shown that they can do in the season, but they've had some losses to some teams that they shouldn't have, and they've had some big losses. So I don't even know if they'll get a playoff win. It's going to depend on who they play. I am not a huge believer in the Lions. Obviously, they've stepped it up this year, but they have shown their weaknesses in these recent weeks. Great game for them this week, and a comeback game, for them. 42 is just big time scoring finally again for the Lions. Bears Browns, I was wrong. I was almost right. They blew it again. The offense is just a liability at this point. I think number one problem on the offense is Luke Getsy in the play calling. I don't think he trusts Justin Fields to throw the ball down the field. And I actually just had a talk recently, just quick with some friends. And my thing is, I think that Justin Fields, his biggest problem is his timing and his ability to throw with anticipation. He can't do that well. He hasn't shown that he can do that. I'm noticing him finally read the field and be a little bit better as far as looking at the reads, but pulling the trigger, he still doesn't do it. He still needs more time to throw than any quarterback in the league. But I think that is also a detriment. I don't think Luke Getsy's giving him enough of a chance. But the thing is like you see some of the plays, and there are quick slants and like quick short throws that are drawn up, and a lot of times he just doesn't pull the trigger. I don't know if he's scared to throw it, or everybody talks about his turnover problems that he's had through his career. He's thrown less interceptions this year. He's still putting the ball on the ground at a similar rate that he has for the games that he's played. He puts the ball on the ground again. Offensive line bails him out again. But interesting for what's going to happen for Justin Fields and the Bears. Bears have a big decision to make. On the other hand, Flacco looked like Goff. He was throwing interceptions left and right. A pick six, one that was almost a pick six, was to Eddie Jackson. He takes it down to the 2, which is one of the only times the Bears scored off of a turnover on the offense, and it's been very few times this year where they actually get points off of a turnover, so don't love that. But yeah, Eddie Jackson takes one down to inside the 5. Tremaine Edmond gets a pick 6. Tyreek Stevenson gets a game-saving interception after Trent Taylor muffs a punt. So it was a great game for the Browns in that regard. They just adjusted well after the third quarter. I don't think it was necessarily halftime because Bears were still up 17-7 going into the fourth quarter. But Justin Fields, again, I think a big part of it is Luke Getsy. But at the end of the day, he also is the worst quarterback as far as completion center percentage, passer rating, and there's a bunch of quarterback stats that he is last in the league for as far as starting quarterbacks go in the fourth quarter, and you can't do that. I understand that the offense is kind of let up, but you can't be doing that. And then that's why I put the Bears lost the game more than the Browns won. Obviously, the big play at the end, the Justin Fields throws it up, it's perfectly in the end zone, and it bounces off a couple guys and lands right in Darnell Mooney's lap. And it looked like he just grabbed the ball so hard that it just slipped out and popped out and landed in the defender's hands, which ends up giving the Justin Fields 2 interceptions, which were both on Hail Marys. It's also a very controversial call to not kick the field goal, whether it be before halftime. There's also before halftime, there was a horrible roughing the passer. On that Hail Mary, the defender absolutely laid out Justin Fields helmet to helmet. Nobody's really talking about it. But on that Hail Mary before half, laid him out. And that would have put them easily into field goal range to get the 3 points. So at this point, it's a tie game, and they're going for the win, where I think the Bears take a field goal if it's 20-20, and they need to make like a 59-yarder or whatever it would have been. So Browns end up beating the Bears. Again, I think the Bears lost more than the Browns won this game. That's all right. Texans-Titans. This one, I thought the Titans were going to be able to do it. The defense just had the Titans' number. Derrick Henry wasn't really able to do anything. You have Case Keenum comes in. Most people remember from the Minneapolis Miracle, the pass to Stephon Diggs against the Saints. And he's finally playing football again, and he played pretty well. He really didn't play that bad for first time starting in a long time. Noah Brown stepped up for him with the injuries, and Nico Collins and Tank Dell. And I think this goes to show that more credit is to be given to DeMeco Ryans than C.J. Stroud. I think C.J. Stroud's still looking like he's going to be a great quarterback. He's still very low in completion percentage. He still has the most inaccurate passes in the league. And he has some of the least in drops in this league. So he's showing that his receivers are doing a lot. And even in this case, the backups, I think, did very well. And then Devin Singletary. I just put he's very underrated. I feel like I always thought of him as like this, oh yeah, he's just like running back to fill the spot. But he really had a big impact on this game and a few games this season and has been a big reason that they've won. Titans, on the other hand, the pressure got to Levis. I want to say he got sacked like 6 or 7 times. Just kept getting hit, and he's a baller. He can, and every week I compare him to Matt Stafford. Feels like Matt Stafford with just how excited and emotional he gets about the game of football, and I thought he did pretty well. Could have done better. Seems like sometimes he's just throwing it up to D-Hop, which you can do at times, but he still needs help. We got to remember this is Levis's first season. I don't think he's even played 10 games yet, so. King Henry was locked up. He had 16 carries for 9 yards. That's by far the worst game ever by Derrick Henry. Horrible, and probably the reason they lost. If he just averaged more than 1 yard a carry, probably would have been better. And then is Vrabel out? They're talking about it. I don't know if he won't be out this season. Like he's going to play through. He's going to be the coach through the rest of the season. But in the Titans world, they are talking about getting rid of him. So we'll have to see what happens with that. Regardless, the Texans end up beating the Titans 19-16, and I get that pick wrong too. I thought Titans would do it. I thought the backups being in would hurt the Texans. It did not. Baker Mayfield literally played a flawless game. That was phenomenal. Chris Godwin went off 10 for 155. Great game for him. And then I was wrong about Rachaad White. Rachaad White, I was saying early on in the season, I was saying he's a nice all-around back, but he's not a great running back, like running the ball. He has been a great running back. These last few weeks, he's ran the ball very well, and he's been a threat out of the backfield. And I think he might even be one of the most underrated running backs in the league right now. I don't feel like not enough people are talking about him. I was very wrong about that. I thought I thought Rachaad White was just kind of a filler. I didn't think he really did much for the team. But I put Love. Is Jordan Love making rookie mistakes? This is technically, although, he's been in the league for, 4 years now? This is his rookie season, and he seems to be making a lot of those rookie mistakes, just blatantly missing guys and having problems. And I think, there was the 4th and 2 on the goal line, and Jordan Love just sails the pass over the receiver. You can't sail a pass on 4th and 2. It looked like he was throwing it away. So you can't be doing that. Packers defense is inept, though. The Buccaneers offense has not been great, and specifically been great. They have been better, at least, when Mike Evans has a great day. And Mike Evans did not do much of anything. Chris Godwin just went off, and Rachaad White had a great day too. So Packers just simply got outplayed. They had the David Moore had a massive catch and run touchdown where the Packers just couldn't tackle, and it was on a slant route. So a lot of big issues. Actually, Packers almost made up for it with the almost stripping the ball out at the end there when he kind of reached back a little bit, running into the end zone. Bit controversial if that was a fumble, but yeah, a lot of problems. Baker didn't really make any. I mean, he had the fumble. He got strip sacked. I believe it was in the red zone, or maybe it was on the other side of the field. It was on one side of the field, but Baker got strip sacked, and other than that, played a flawless game. Definitely in the running for the I'm Jerry Player of the Week. Cowboys-Bills. There was just no passing in this game for both teams. There was no passing. Dak Prescott did horrible. They found that they can't lean on Tony Pollard. Cowboys couldn't tackle either. James Cook looked like Barry Sanders with the moves that he was making and the shimmy and the shake. And the Cowboys, all they were doing was dinking and dunking. And I think Dak Prescott had 24 completions or something for 130 yards. It was awful. They were just throwing these short little passes, getting tackled, and it was not great. They took the Bills. They took the lead early and never gave it back. They let James cook. There's a J in there. That's lovely. But they let James cook, and James Cook took over that game. Bills are back mainly because they showed that it doesn't have to be Josh Allen just slinging the ball all over the field and making all the plays himself. They showed that they can just run the ball against a good Cowboys defense. Cowboys defense has been good this year, but James Cook was just able to run all over. They still have Stephon Diggs. He didn't do anything. I don't know if Dalton Kincaid even got a catch, who had been a big target for them. So, Gabe Davis, there's so many talents over there. And James Cook ended up being the one to shine in this particular week, with the Bills dominating the Cowboys 31-10. The Eagles-Seahawks game. This game was rough for the Eagles. I think the Eagles kind of looked like the Bears. Being a Bears fan and watching those games, you have Justin Fields holding onto the ball too long. Typically, our best offensive play is when Justin Fields is scrambling. That's how this game was for the Eagles. If Jalen Hurts wasn't running the ball, they weren't really getting many yards down the field. The Seahawks defense, they have those good corners to help with Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown. So obviously that's a big part of it. But even the interior was doing good enough on Swift. Swift still had a pretty good day, but I think he averaged 4 a carry, which is still fine. But they just, in the moments when they needed it, the Seahawks defense played good enough football, because the Eagles all year, their defense had struggled, and their offense had just been able to put up a lot of points and win the game, or put up enough points. It seems like their offense was just Jalen Hurts running and doing the tush push in short yardage situation, which burned them with Jason Kelce on that one, close for the first down, and then ends up being, instead of 3rd and 1, it's 3rd and 6, ends up stalling the drive. So finally see the tush push get defeated with Kelce jumping. But Seahawks, they couldn't stop Hurts running. We talked about Hurts running earlier. They slowed down everything else, though. A.J. Brown did not have a great day. Devonta Smith didn't have a great day. DeAndre Swift, we talked, a pretty good day, but nothing spectacular, and it wasn't enough to win. And then Drew Lock came in. Well, he was in the whole game, but he came in with a minute left and 92 yards to go and drove all the way down the field and threw an absolute seed to JSN for a touchdown. Beautiful ending to a game, and good for the Seahawks, not good for the Eagles. I put in the thumbnail, are they done? Because this is not looking good. And I talked about this last week. this was a game that they needed to win because now they play the Giants, the Cardinals, and then the Giants again. And if they lose one of these games, I mean, they don't even look like a great playoff contender. And they were talked about as a Super Bowl juggernaut. So they just keep finding ways to lose games. And we'll see what happens moving forward for the Eagles. But that was the last game, obviously, just happened. I'm Jerry. Player of the Week, though, is James Cook. I know I talked about maybe it being Baker Mayfield. Thought he was definitely deserving of it. I don't love Baker Mayfield, so maybe that's some bias in there. But I feel like James Cook's ability to dominate this game in a game where you're going up against the, a great football team in the Cowboys and a great defense. Packers defense has been very suspect this year. So for Baker to dot up that defense, I didn't find it as impressive. And for a running back to have, 221 yards, 2 touchdowns on 27 touches is phenomenal. And especially with Josh Allen doing nothing. It was a great day, and I couldn't discount James Cook. Thought about Baker Mayfield, but I had to give it to James Cook. Great day. I'm Jerry, Player of the Week, James Cook. Next, we have the Week 15 leaders. We won't go over all these, but Joe Flacco had the most completions, and then Baker Mayfield had the most yards and the highest passer rating. Great game for him. Dolphins managed to allow 103 yards to the Jets. Very impressive. And then the Raiders, we talked about their 5 turnovers. Let's get to the fun facts. In the last 10 years, the Super Bowl champ has not lost a game by 10 points or more in December. If you look at the teams, the Cowboys and the Eagles have both lost a game by 10 points or more. So, NFC, if you're putting that fact into the works, only the 49ers really left. Putting that into perspective. And then you look at the Ravens. I didn't check all the AFC teams, but the Ravens are one of the only teams that have also done this. So I think any of these teams could still get hot, and you need to get a hot streak going in the playoffs, and that's how ultimately you're gonna win. But not looking good for them. The only team to win a Super Bowl after a losing season is the 2017 Patriots. So that's interesting because Patriots are having one of the worst seasons that we've ever seen and might have a first or second overall draft pick to where if they can get the defense right and get a quarterback that can produce some more offense. Ezekiel Elliott's look good, filling in, getting more touches with Ramondre. So I don't think they're winning a Super Bowl next year, but it was an interesting stat. Derrick Henry is the only player ever to average less than 1 yard per carry and in a game getting 15 carries, 15 or more. So he gets 16 carries for 9 yards. Obviously a career low game for Derrick Henry and a career game in NFL history. So people are talking about the Titans being done. Derrick Henry was talking about, how he's probably going to be gone. And I don't know if he's thinking about retiring or what's going to happen, but it seems like he could be on the move. And then little fun fact, the Raiders won 63-21. Both teams ran exactly 63 plays, and 21 times 3 is 63. I don't know why that's relevant, but just thought that was a fun fact to throw in there. That's everything we learned about biggest winners and losers. These are obviously the leaders. Some new names up there in Kaliki Hudson and Tano Pasagnan. Yeah, he's on the Saints, if you didn't know that. I didn't know that. And I didn't know Kaliki Hudson was an NFL football player. But they both led in tackles and then sacks and TFLs this week. So, round of applause for them. Thank you for watching the video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and have a great day.